Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Undefined. And I'm so excited to talk to Jenni Rose, the frontwoman of the Vandoliers. She and her band put out a new album called Life Behind Bars, currently on tour. And I am very excited to talk to Jenni. How are you today?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing great. So, a lot has happened. So, the band has just turned 10 years old, and this is your first tour and album as a trans woman after coming out. And I want to talk to you about how has that been for you? How has touring been? I read your amazing piece in Rolling Stone by Josh, who is a friend of mine, and I saw all of the videos of y'all on tour, and I want to know, like, how has that been?
Uh, it has been amazing. I kind of came into this very, a lot of people are calling me brave, but I have
Hmm.
never been more scared in my life.
Hmm.
Typically, like it's a big change for me, but it's also a big year for my band. It's a big
Hmm.
year for my family, and it's a big year in general for everyone. Um, So I'm just showing up. And
Hmm.
every time I show up, something really beautiful happens. So the first show we played in Denver and we played at Globe Hall, which we haven't been there since our first tour with Old 97s back in the day. So it's been like almost 8 years, 9 years.
Hmm.
And this time we're headlining, we're not opening. And there were a lot of people there and they were excited to see me. And
Uh-huh.
they it was an awakening. And every show since, even when we go into those conservative rural areas,
Hmm.
the band is creating a space where people can come out and have fun. And I'm a trans woman and I'm on stage, so it's inherently a place for, queer joy is
Hmm.
happening. And it's there have been really powerful moments for me. Like we played Jackalope Jamboree and I
Yes, I
saw
was going to
Jonas
mention that.
Tucker there.
Yeah.
And they threw roses at me. And I was kind of worried about that show too. I've played the last 2 years,
Hmm.
in tomboy mode and I
Hmm.
wasn't sure how they were going to react or if they were going to fully accept me now that I'm out and
Hmm.
my identity's, transitioned, and it was wonderful. I was welcomed. I felt loved and safe, and we were playing with bands like Midland, and my
Hmm.
buddy Rob Linus played that day, and Jason Scott and the High Heat, and everybody was so kind and just fully there. So it's been a lot different than maybe my nervous system has told me things are going to play out. And I'm grateful for it. I feel like every show is this act of joy and
Hmm.
resistance, and it's moving and emotional now, and it has layers that maybe weren't really there before. I'm also,
Hmm.
relaxed. So I get to go out again. I get to hang out with my friends. I'm not buried
Hmm.
in a book or,
Hmm.
stuffing myself away at the end of the night. It's been really nice.
Oh, yeah, that's really inspiring. And I saw the video of the Jackalope Jamboree, and I just thought that that was amazing. And I wanted to follow that up with the whole thing with the roses and the name Jenni Rose. Is Rose like anything like symbolic for you? Like how did that kind of become a part of your identity? Because it's also in like the outfits that you wear and then like in the Life Behind Bars music video you have rose earrings and I wanted to know like kind of where like the symbol of the rose like what does that mean to you if it has anything.
I kind of took it in as I the way that I've gotten spiritual over the last few years for
Hmm.
me. I kind of needed it just so I could withstand some of the challenges I was having with my sobriety and being a
Hmm.
professional musician. And I have, if you've listened to the record, you've heard the song
Yes.
Bible Belt, so you already know about my like religious trauma. So
Hmm.
I kind of had to change gears and figure out a different place for my spirit to kind of be filled or to feed it.
Hmm.
Um, and so I started, I started reading, and I started looking at cards. I started
Yes.
kind of diving into um, this place, and I found this goddess Bridget, who's like the goddess of poetry, and you know, And it was just a really cool place to be where I felt like, okay, I'm not godless anymore.
Hmm.
I have a spiritual guide. I can kind of move forward. And I found this card and it said the Sisterhood of the Rose on it. I was reading it and it was talking about how there's a place with all women that everyone comes down to the same, source, and that divine femininity is uh in every woman, and it
Hmm.
is the power there. It is the wisdom. It's kind of the cunning, that seeing eye that all women have,
Hmm.
and um, it's a place of warmth and it's a place of acceptance. And I really thought it was beautiful and it really helped me through a lot, especially those
Hmm.
times where like I really wanted to drink again and I
Hmm.
really needed something to kind of, pull me back and ground me. So I took on the name Rose for that reason. Um, Jennifer is also a word used for beautiful. So
Hmm.
beautiful flowers, kind of the bit. And I was also blossoming. Like a rose looks completely different before it blooms. And
Hmm.
you don't see the folds, you don't see the layers in it, you don't see all of the colors yet. And I felt like I hadn't bloomed yet. And
Wow.
so,
That's really inspiring. Yeah, I have chills. And I think, to be when you're a touring musician, especially like, you've been doing this for 10 years and
mhm.
your road schedule is very like y'all are on the road all the time. So I'm sure like how have you been creating this balance of, the grind of being on a band and performing every night and then also like, trying to take that time to center yourself with like sobriety, who you are, the cards, your identity. Because I mean, I'm not a touring musician, but I'm a student. I'm getting my PhD soon, and I know how
Mm.
it feels like when you're so deep in work and you're so focused on one thing. It's so sometimes you have to like step like I have to find myself like catching like self-care, like having moment to like be like, okay, like where are things now? And like as a touring musician, to be able to get the past 2 years, all that work done like within yourself and like the self-care, how has that been something that you've managed?
I don't know if I managed it exactly right, but
Hmm.
I tried my best. And the first thing I needed to figure out was how can I do this sustainably? And so things that really help me are routines, and they
Hmm.
are super annoying to my bandmates, and I apologize all the time, but they work and they work
Hmm.
really well for me. So my routine is really the thing that's kept me on track, and it's given me a way to give myself the time that I need to be a centered, aligned person. And then that allows me to be a better songwriter, a better friend, a better bandmate, a
Hmm.
better partner, a better parent, a better front woman.
Hmm.
Um, and it really affects all of my life and it just kind of compounds. So I start the morning, I wake up, I go to the gym, I come back, I take a shower, I eat breakfast without my phone, and then once I'm done eating, I pull my cards and like I pray, and
Hmm.
then from there I journal, and if I, in the van, I read
Hmm.
just a chapter a day. I've been dyslexic throughout my whole
Wow.
life.
Hmm.
So reading's always been a challenge. But since I stopped drinking, I wanted to start reading, and so once I finished my first book, I've been hooked. And it just takes
Yeah.
me longer, but no one's counting me, no one's
Hmm.
pushing me, and I'm not competing with anybody but myself. So every day I just try to read, journal, my cards, your body, mind, spirit. If I can get that done, then I can be like Jenni Rose on stage,
Yeah.
at home, in at work, on the interview, just me in general. It
I
helps.
love that. Yeah. And I think I'm very routine focused too. So I think that's great. And you mentioned reading a lot. Is there any books like recently that have stood out and specifically to the new album when you were working on that? Was there any like literary examples, or like how did that kind of like tying into the album, if there were
Uh,
any?
I there was a book at Sonic Ranch in my bungalow, and it said self-help through witchcraft.
Oh, I love that.
I know, and I love stuff like that. I was
Hmm.
already like reading every self-help book I could because I was like, how do I not be an alcoholic or an addict? And then
Hmm.
I find this, and it's like, oh, I've been
Hmm.
manifesting good things and bad things my entire life, kind
Uh-huh.
of thing. And it kind of and there's something about Sonic Ranch that
Yeah.
is inherently magical or like in that realm
Uh-huh.
because all of these records have it. Like I
Yeah.
remember the first time I heard of Sonic Ranch was because of the weird Mars Volta record they made out
Uh-huh.
there, where they had like this whole backstory of like a seance or something. But like, yeah, I kind of had that same experience. I got this book, I started reading it, I really loved it. It hit all of my little interests that I like. And I was already doing like there's that song Dead Canary that we start the record in,
Yes.
and it's about shadow work
Wow.
and um and kind of having to dig deep and find and come to grips with the shading of yourself, the
Hmm.
darker sides of yourself, the parts we kind of try to hide or not show, the things
Hmm.
that if we were going to go into society and try to be as successful as possible, these would be the things that we would kind of hide away because
Hmm.
these are the things that make us abnormal or different or
Hmm.
special or
Hmm.
in my case trans.
Hmm. Yeah, I feel like that is relatable too. Like I can relate to that sentiment too because I have high functioning autism, so like I like be like trying to like hide and try to like fit like the norm. Like it could apply to a bunch of different things, because you
Yes,
think like
absolutely.
society has like a certain idea of like how we should present ourselves, what should we be, like what's good and what's bad. And so I feel like, Dead Canary and that whole message is very, inspiring and can apply to a bunch of different people. And I think like that's what's so powerful about music is that it can
Yeah.
have that universal message. And then Sonic Ranch, that's so cool because I've talked to a few people that have done records there. Talked to Spencer Tweedy a few months ago, and he talked about how they did the Waxahachie record there, and
Oh,
like
tiger's
how,
blood.
yeah, and
uh
it's so good. And he was like, yeah, every night we would like sit by the campfire and we would just like talk and cook, and like it just sounds like such a cool experience. And besides like the reading bit of it. What's more about how that was like? Because it's such an iconic place to record, and I'm sure you have more stories about that.
oh, I mean, what a dream
Uh-huh.
first. And how grateful I am that our fan base is what got us there, not like a record label. We didn't
Yeah,
have one.
because you crowdfunded that one, correct?
Yeah, because of BJ Barham,
Yes.
I called him up. I was like, "Hey, I have a big fish on the line with Ted Hutt. I really want to make this record. We want to go to Sonic Ranch. How are you doing this? Like, you're going to like LA and recording with Shooter Jennings, and like I know that Shooter used to be friends with everybody in our scene and stuff, but he's like a Grammy-winning producer now,
Yeah.
multi-Grammy-winning producer. Like,
Uh-huh.
it's a lot of money.
Yeah.
Like, how are you doing this? And he's such a hustle and he's all about, he's such a great businessman.
Oh
And
yeah,
so
for sure.
just a perfect person to go to and be
Hmm.
like, hey, I don't have the opportunity to get this like um instant fame career. Like
Uh-huh.
I'm not going to get that. But I have something to say and I have opportunities. The only thing really standing in my way is like capital.
Uh-huh.
And so he just taught me about how to pre-sell a record, how to not overexert yourself or your fans, and how to
Hmm.
make a cohesive economic system for you and your listeners where you can make the art at your best quality and the people that actually like you will help you get there.
Hmm.
And so we put out a what maybe like 5 tier system. It
Hmm.
like starts with like a download and it ends all the way with like a private show. And it can go from like, you know, $20 to like 10 grand, which is like just what it takes to get six people anywhere.
Yeah.
And we got a couple of the private parties, but we also like pre-sold a ton of records. And
Hmm.
it was like really beautiful because we only had like 3 weeks at that point just to
Uh-huh.
earn the money to get to the studio.
Uh-huh.
And they did it. And we worked with Ted in LA just to give them a taste of like, okay, we made these two songs. They're not on the record, but this is what it's going to sound like. This is not bad, you know? And so we did Together We Will Sink or Swim and Nobody's Fault But My Own. And that was just kind of like a taster.
Uh-huh.
And I love those songs. And I
Hmm.
think our fans did too. And they saw the potential and they got us there. So first off, that's like, wow, what a miracle in and of itself. Then we had 2 weeks to make 10 songs. We made 12, two of them will come out later.
Hmm.
And I came in with about 40 songs. Corey came in with about five or six. And
Hmm.
we sat down and every day we recorded one or two songs. And in those times before we recorded, we sat in at Sonic Ranch and we had the space to do so, where 8 people can hang out, and then we all just figure out how to make this song the best it possibly can be. And sometimes it would be like right off the bat, like Party with the Lights On was no
Uh-huh.
thinking, just go make a country song.
Yeah.
And then there are songs like Bible Belt where I had to rewrite that song like so many times.
Hmm.
It just because the content was so sensitive and it had to be really, it had to be exactly right because I
Hmm.
don't want to hurt anybody. I just want to
Hmm.
express what happened to me and maybe
Hmm.
someone else. If that's how I connect. It's like, did anybody else feel like this?
Hmm.
Is kind of the sentiment. So um, there was a lot of thought put in it. A lot of our brains were mush when we got out of there. But I'm also, at that in that moment, I am coming off of a really successful yet financially devastating UK tour with Bowling for
Uh-huh.
Soup and Less Than Jake.
Oh, that's so
And
awesome.
it was amazing, but oh my
Mhm.
God, like we were
Uh-huh.
so screwed when we got home. There was so much uncertainty. My gender dysphoria was freaking out because like I was on a bus and I couldn't shave, and there was so much, I don't know.
Hmm.
There's a lot of layers to this, but it was just I was coming in a really sensitive and vulnerable headspace where I didn't know if this was going to be the last thing I ever wrote.
Hmm.
Um, and so in the studio, I would keep my routine of I would wake up in the morning, I would go run in the orchard, I would have breakfast pretty much before everyone. Ted would kind of find me at the tail end of me eating, and then I would go to the studio and I try to write a bridge. And so, like, as I'm doing that, I'm rewriting these songs. The lyrics are getting deeper. I'm writing these new parts. I'm going through this spiritual awakening. I'm going through this massive identity death. And I'm in my bunk pretty much alone,
Hmm.
um, with no one else to talk to but to write these songs. And so
Hmm.
it just all kind of came out. And like that's where um, you know, Bible Belt happen, the story of Valencia was, you know, changed into this kind of a search for femininity
Yeah.
story. And like Evergreen was picked, and I was devastated when they picked that song because I was like, oh my God, they're gonna know. And
Hmm.
uh and then yeah, and then the end of the 2 weeks was over, and I had this record with Ted Hutt and this big 2 year thing that I worked really hard on
Hmm.
myself and outwardly by like trying to raise all this was done. And
Wow.
I had to figure out, well, what do I do next? And I had all this stuff to deal with. And then we went viral for wearing dresses in Tennessee.
Yeah.
And I'm like, so it's just like
Was the dresses, was that after you
that was
recorded the album or
before.
before?
I'd say that
Yeah,
was
but
before.
that was definitely
But like,
a big moment. And like
yeah,
and it was viral too. And so
yeah.
like was that one of from like reading that article, the Rolling Stone one, that was one of the big moments. And so like when you were writing, was that something that you kind of reflected on as well? Like with those feelings and that show?
I think the death threat was probably referenced the most, with Bible
Hmm.
Belt being like, I feel like that's kind of where like that sentiment was, where
Hmm.
that feeling unsafe in your own home state or your own
Yeah.
hometown kind of thing. Um, and like I knew that I was different, and I
Hmm.
knew how people talked about people like me,
Hmm.
not knowing who I am or
Hmm.
that I'm around.
Hmm.
Um, I saw how they treat women too.
Yeah.
Um, and um, it was really it was hard. And
Hmm.
I had to like talk about this stuff in a way where I also wasn't gonna get figured out. And
Hmm.
after we went viral for the Tennessee thing, I had a ton of press people asking me if I was queer or
Hmm.
if we had anybody trans in the band, or you know what I mean? Like,
Hmm.
and like I really wasn't ready then, and I wish I would have
Hmm.
been, but I just wasn't ready.
Hmm.
And I almost wasn't ready when we were writing the record. Just it just got pulled out of me, and then I
Hmm.
had to like pick up the pieces after. And it wasn't long until I came out to my wife. It was like we
Hmm.
recorded the record in March, so April, May, and then June 24th I came out to her.
Wow. And
Yeah.
then with the band, and this is like, I hope you're comfortable with everything that we're talking about. Like with the band telling them, did that happen after the record or was that during the process?
Can I cuss on this show?
Yes, you can.
Fuck no. I didn't tell them at the record. I was freaking out.
Yeah.
No, I didn't tell the band. I didn't even tell the band first. And I
Uh-huh.
knew that I was in a band with good people, but the risk was so great. Like, what
Hmm.
if? Like, what if I get kicked out of the band?
Hmm.
What if my agent drops me? What if my
Hmm.
manager drops me?
Hmm.
What if, like, what if no one wants to sign us? There's
Hmm.
so much writing, there's so much money that other people have already, we have to, we just, like there was a lot of pressure. There
Hmm.
was a lot of risk. I didn't take that jump. The first band member I told was my best friend Trey. He plays
Hmm.
drums, and
Yes.
we've been friends for like a million years, 17 years.
Hmm.
And I told him in we went on tour with I told him right after I told Lindsay. So it was probably the next tour. It was probably around July or August.
Hmm.
And I he accepted me immediately
Hmm.
and was like, "You're silly for not telling the band. No one's gonna care."
Oh.
And was like, "It's totally gonna be fine. Just do it." And like has been a really big supporter of mine and
Hmm.
helped me, come out. It was step by step. So with the band, we were on tour with Lucero.
Hmm.
I just started the tour. I think we had played two shows. We had played like in Arkansas,
Uh-huh.
and then we played in Oklahoma City. And I was
Hmm.
gonna tell them after Oklahoma City, I was like, all right, it's gonna be a great show. We're popular in Oklahoma City. It's Lucero, obviously, a ton of people are gonna be there. We're gonna be hyped
Hmm.
up. There'll be adrenaline. Everybody, it'd be a good time. And
Hmm.
then I'll take them to Taco Bell. I'll buy Taco Bell, and then that night I'm gonna tell them, and then they'll go to bed, and then we'll wake up, and we'll have a long drive, and we can all process it. But they were like blacked out, and it just wasn't the
Hmm.
right time. So I let everybody go to bed. I was like, well, maybe I won't do it and stuff. But I told everybody that I wanted to go to Taco Bell, and I never want to go to Taco Bell because I'm on this eternal diet, before this. And
Yeah.
so everybody was like, we gotta go to Taco Bell. We never get to go to Taco Bell. And so
Uh-huh.
they wanted to go for breakfast the next morning. So I couldn't
Uh-huh.
avoid it. It just happened the next morning. And I just said, like, it was instant. We just like got in the car and they were like, oh, Taco Bell, let's stop here. Fuck. So I bought everybody Taco Bell. Everybody's happy. We're in there. It's like some kid on his computer waiting for his mom to get off of work, and us just a gaggle of idiots sitting there laughing, and I'm in this place of I'm pretty quiet. I'm having fun, but I'm quiet and I'm nervous. And
Mhm.
Trey knows what's about to happen too, so it's
Mhm.
just like so we get back in the van and I turn around and I look at everybody and I pull up my notes in my phone and I just start reading and I tell them.
Mhm.
And Corey is stoked, and
Oh,
Travis made a joke, and you know everybody's happy for me, and we drive to Santa Fe. We all kind of like talk about it and laugh about it, and we get to Santa Fe. We're staying at this hotel, the El Rey. It's really cute.
mhm.
You should go.
Uh-huh.
And they have this little bar, and we went in, and it was queer night,
Oh,
and everybody bought me a mocktail. We sat there. We had a good night. And then the next night, it was a blizzard, and we played with Lucero in a blizzard.
that's so cool.
And like since then, I feel like, and like you're asking me, like, how do I balance all of this reading and diet and
Mhm.
gym and balancing and magic and stuff? And it's
Mhm.
like, it was such a detriment to my relationships in the band for like 2 years. I
Mhm.
was in my headphones, in a book, in my journal every day trying to figure out how I was going to get past myself and into a place where I could be like possibly successful, thriving human person.
Mhm.
You know, because at the time I was struggling,
Mhm.
very sad, very depressed,
Mhm.
um, very isolating.
Yeah, and
And
yeah, I think even I'm sure you can connect to the two. I think it's hard when you're in like the South and you tour a lot Southern, like you grew up in a place like that, and when you grew up like in a conservative area, like I live in rural Mississippi, so I understand it's like, you know, dealing with that, but then dealing with all of the voices and the notions of like how are people gonna react, like how do because even like just women in general, like in the conservative area, like I feel like some of like where I live, like the older p folks, it's like they're living in the 1950s. And that's just like they haven't changed the way that they thought and the way that they live. So I'm sure like that kind of weighs in a bunch with, going through that as well. And like how has from a touring standpoint been? Like you said, it's been really accepting and going back to those places that maybe you would have been nervous about, like, the Arkansas of the world or things like that, and then balancing it out with like places like Denver. How has that been this time around?
I don't know.
Hmm.
I've only done mountain states in West Coast. We just played Green Hall.
Hmm.
I'm the first trans woman to ever headline Green Hall.
That's so badass. I love it.
It's so badass, but it's also just like super daunting and scary, like right before you go on stage, because you
Hmm.
have no idea if the crowd's gonna turn on you
Hmm.
or if like um or something bad could happen, you know.
Hmm.
And again, they throw roses, they
Hmm.
sing every word. I hug like hundreds of people after the show. My parents were there, my kid, and my wife were there.
Oh.
And they had to wait an hour and a half so I could just like sign everything and take every picture
Hmm.
and hug everybody. And like, again, it used to not be like that. It used to
Hmm.
be like I was just one member in a band, you know, you sign next to whatever, get in the group photo. If I need to leave early, I could. It's just not like that anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like uh people come there to tell me that I helped them with their either their trans kid or a trans kid with their parent or
Hmm.
these big emotional connections now
Hmm.
that I think I'll see in conservative areas too, not just in Denver's.
Yeah.
I think that there are people hurting everywhere, and I
Hmm.
think there are people that need a place in country music
Hmm.
because it is the music of our country
Yeah.
and like everybody is entitled to it.
Hmm.
Um, Especially in Texas, but
Yeah.
like everyone is allowed to like country music.
Uh-huh.
It is folk music. It is a last breath of acoustic
Yeah.
music, you know. Everything moving forward will be digital or
Hmm.
have electricity involved. But like
Hmm.
I can sit and play the song with zero electricity. I could play this in a, you know, it is a the to me like the common denominator with everyone. It's whether it's on a piano, whether it's jazz or has jazz in it or blues or any of it. Like every culture has a country music place,
Hmm.
and Vandoliers kind of just takes a little bit of everything because we have so much history and culture in Texas, and those sounds are just everywhere. But like when we travel, there's a lot of rural area in
Hmm.
the states. Like no matter what state you're in, there are
Hmm.
farmlands, there are
Yeah.
small towns, there are
Hmm.
places like where I grew up.
Hmm.
And I think that it's really wonderful that like we have the opportunity to kind of come in using the same language and
Hmm.
present a counter argument.
Yeah. I mean, like going back to VJ Barham, I strongly believe, like, I believe in a better South. I feel like, I
Yes.
think to be in those
Love that
places
song.
and to, yeah, it's great to be in those places and to be a voice and to be a beacon for people is like very inspiring. So we talked about country, and what I love about the Vandoliers is that so my show's called Undefined because I like to kind of highlight all kinds of music. And I love like Americana country is like kind of my main thing, but I'm wearing a blink shirt. I love pop punk. I love that kind of thing as well. And the Vandaliers is like the mesh of that. And I think it's so cool that y'all can go from playing with Lucero, playing with Slobberbone, and then go with like Bowling for Soup and Flogging Molly and Less Than Jake. And it's like kind of like Americana Fest meets like Warped Tour.
Mhm.
So I think that's really cool. And how was growing up and now, your musical influences and blending those two things together because I think that is so awesome. And then I know that you have another project, the Tom Girls Band. I want to hear about that as well because I saw that on Instagram and I was very curious about that.
Who told you? No,
I do my research. I saw it on your Instagram. If this
I
is secret, we need to cut it out. We can.
no 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 no
Okay.
no. I've been so subtle with it. When I came out, I right before I came out, I just deleted all my photos off of Instagram.
Uh-huh.
Like I like it's like just a week before I was like, it took me a while because I had never
Uh-huh.
done it. And so I'm just like
Yeah.
going through, and then I'm about to like change my bio. April 18th, Rolling Stone pops off,
Mm-hmm.
I get to like change my name and my little picture.
Mm-hmm.
And like I don't know, I just put at Tom Girls next to
Mm-hmm.
my microphone and guitar emoji. So it's
Mm-hmm.
like Vandeliers and Tom Girls. And yeah, I am an eclectic mutt
Mm-hmm.
of music. I've been playing music my whole life, it seems. I
Mm-hmm.
started my first band when I was 12, and it was called Duct Tape, which was the first band name for Blink. And I just
Oh, I
ripped
love
it.
that.
The Tales from Beneath Your Mom book was my like how to start a band Bible. So I just,
Yeah.
I was 12, so I was like duct tape, and I put the little cartoon, and then I made tapes like they did, and I just tried to start a band. I wanted to
Hmm.
be in a band. I'd seen Blink on their Mark Tom and Travis tour, and like I
Oh,
was
it's so cool that you were able to see them in that. That's like the
that was
most
my first
iconic.
show. It was
Oh,
my
that's
first
so
show.
good.
And it was my first introduction to punk music. So I got to see Phoenix TX and Bad Religion and Blink in the same night.
That is so
And
cool.
I came dressed for church. I was in like a polo and khakis, and I was just waltzing in thinking I was going to like a regular show. And my dad took me to punish my sister for secretly buying the tickets. Ha ha ha. And yeah, I got introduced to punk music. And I was like, this doesn't seem as hard as all of the other music I've seen. Like, I think I could pull that off.
Hmm.
It's see like they weren't really playing in time or in tune, and there were 20,000 people there. And I was
Right.
like, well, they can do it. So I got a guitar from my uncle, uh, and he was right before he started trying to go through cancer, and he didn't make it.
I'm so
And
sorry.
so, and so that kind of gave me like a thank you. And it kind of gave me like it's like a place where I had this emotional moment. I had an instrument, and I also had the belief that I could do it.
Hmm.
And so I was like, okay, I'm gonna play guitar now. And this is how I express myself. And this is how I
Uh-huh.
connect with people. It was really, I was having a really hard time. Obviously, trans girl, gonna have a hard time. And I was
Hmm.
pushed to play sports, and I was really good at hockey, but the locker rooms were really hard.
Hmm.
And I had to put on a certain, the masking game with high
Hmm.
functioning autism.
Hmm.
So same thing applies for trans girl. I had this like, okay, I gotta be like manly man. What does that look like? And it was usually typically all of the negative things that I was getting picked on for not being. And I
Hmm.
tried to be those, but it's just a caricature of that. It's not really how I am. It's
Hmm.
just how I would have to function in society until I got into privacy and then I could be one on one with somebody and connect.
Hmm.
But music kind of gave me a way to like forego all of that, and I could just kind of be me on stage, and maybe somebody might think it was cool. So I got to jump around, I got to dance, I got to sing about my emotions, I got to talk about the girls that I liked, I got to like be in a place where I could express myself and not
Hmm.
be and I'm in a band, so like these are my friends. No one's gonna pick on me for expressing
Hmm.
myself like they would in sports. Like I
Hmm.
don't know if you played sports, but it's like,
No, I'm like the least athletic person ever.
well, I mean,
Yeah.
eh, I don't know if I'm the most athletic person in the world, but it was one of those things where it was like I didn't really fit in.
Hmm.
And when you don't fit in, you get bullied.
Hmm. Yeah,
And
I was
so
bullied too. Yeah.
yeah, and I think I think there was an ebb and flow of that, and like sometimes it looked a little more comfortable than it was, and sometimes it was more uncomfortable than it looked, and I don't know, like it was a hard thing to process, and music gave me a place to kind of write about it.
Hmm.
And so I was in a three-piece punk band, and then I was in a ska band, and
Hmm.
then I was in a like I went through a weird period where I was in two bands that didn't really work, but
Hmm.
little bits of it happened, and a lot of my dysphoria kind of came out in those bands. So like the
Hmm.
first band was called Jennifer,
Oh, wow.
uh-huh, and I started wearing makeup, and then that moved into, and that didn't work out, and I kind of had like a really hard spot, and I made this other band when I met Trey,
Hmm.
and I was in like makeup, and we were doing dance music, but it wasn't good, and no one liked it, and all my friends were mad at me because I quit my ska band, and it was just really weird locally. And then Trey and I just found ourselves, everybody quit in the band. It was very weird. It just wasn't working. So it just
Hmm.
like it didn't work. And it just kind of like before it took off, it just kind of like imploded. And then we were left and it was just me and Trey. So we made a two-piece punk band called The Fuss.
Hmm.
And I think then I started getting better at guitar. I started writing these songs that had like kind of a Western motif to them. And like, especially in the first song and the first like EP. And then we worked with Vade and Todd Lewis from the Toadies on our second
Oh,
record.
that's awesome.
And then we did a record in Dallas with this guy named Jeff Sines. And that's kind of how I got introduced to like the Americana scene with like the Texas Gentlemen and all them. And
Hmm.
um, so for about 7 years, the Fuss did pretty good locally in DFW, and we would go to like CMJ in New York and tour out there and like play to nobody, play to nobody, play to nobody, get to the festival, play to nobody, then come back home.
Hmm.
So it wasn't like it was going anywhere very well, but we tried. And then I was getting married. I was a barber in Dallas, and life was changing, and Trey was having kids, and that band stopped, and I had this bushel of country songs that I wrote for my wife to kind of flirt with her and to kind of woo
Uh-huh.
her into liking me, and or at least being like okay that I left for a month and came home with like $4, you
Hmm.
know. And that's where like Bottom Dollar came from, and uh, she introduced me to her friend John, and I think John kind of saw all of the my past bands plus the country songs that I was, presenting him, and kind of found a way where all of it, I was like, well, I like always play punk music, so I want it to be fast and fun, but
Hmm.
like these are country songs, so I want them to sound like country songs.
Hmm.
But also I'm a ska and I love a trumpet,
Yeah,
So
too.
so we just started calling all of my friends from other bands, and Corey was like one of my clients, and his
Hmm.
wife was one of my clients, and I remember his wife coming in and talking to me and being all like, "Why haven't you asked Corey to be in your country band?" And I was like, I didn't know he wanted to be in my country band. She's like, well, he's quiet and he's never gonna say it, but I'll say it because he talks about it all the time at home.
Oh, that's cute.
so so I called Corey. I was like, hey, do you want to be in my country band? He's like, yeah. I'm like, cool. Well, see you at my house on Sunday at 8. And then we had literally the worst band practice I've ever been a part of in my entire life. And then we went into the studio and we started working on these songs and bringing them to life. And we booked one show, and I was like, this is just gonna be one show. It's not a big deal. Like, it's my little countryside project, and then I'll
Hmm.
probably do another punk band or something. And people showed up, and then we wrote, and then now it's 10 years later, and here we are. But that's one side of me.
Hmm.
And with all of this transition, and right before I came out to the band, I went straight to my inner child and I wrote a 15 track three-piece pop punk record called
Ah,
Tom Girls, and the album's called Sissy, and it's really good. And every person I show the little private link was somebody I came out to.
uh-huh.
So like I would come out to them, and if they were cool,
Hmm.
I'd be like, "Sweet, here's your little pop punk pamphlet." I'd
Oh
send
my
them this.
God.
I'd send them this private SoundCloud link with like 10 songs called Sissy,
Uh-huh.
and it has this like crude drawing of like a a a kid with a mohawk and a pink dress on fire, kind of like Bad Religion Suffer, but
Yeah.
like with a trans kid.
Uh-huh.
But it's like my drawing, so it's like fucking terrible. And
No, that makes it more punk.
well, I
Yeah.
mean, I did it on my computer. Like
Yeah.
the drums are just digital drums, and like, but
Hmm.
I played bass and I played guitar and I sang on it, and I went to audio engineering school before I went to hair school, so like it sounds really good. Um, and I sent it, and so Trey, when I told him that I came out,
Hmm.
was like, "Cool, I love you," and I was like, "Awesome. Here's a pop punk song I just wrote." And he's like, holy fucking shit, I love this. We have to do this. He's like, also, you should think about coming out publicly because I really want to play this live. So when do you want to come out? When do you want to come out? And I just kept sending him songs. He's like, we gotta do this. We gotta do this. We gotta do this. I love this. I love this. I love this. And so yeah. And then he booked a show. He bought me a guitar amp. He bought himself a drum set, and Corey got on bass, and we went down to Austin and we played a show, and people showed up and they loved it.
Yeah, I saw the
And
pictures from the show too. I was like, okay, yeah, I do my research, and I thought that was awesome.
and and so we booked another show right before we left for this tour, and we did it in Denton. And I booked it because I want to keep doing it. Like I just
Yeah.
really like it. Like I don't think I don't want it to compete with Vandeliers. I don't want it to be a distraction to a Vandaliers listener,
Hmm.
but I do think it's worthy of existing. And another thing that BJ Barham told me, we're just gonna throw BJ Barham quotes out.
Yeah.
He's like the red dirt Bruce Springsteen.
No,
Uh,
really. Oh yeah.
so like red dirt Bruce Springsteen told me that
Yeah, Reg.
he's released every song he's ever written.
Uh-huh.
Like I have like mounds of songs I've never released. Like
Uh-huh.
I kind of feel stupid, you know, for not really. And like I really like Tom Girls. So let's manifest something together. I would really like to record with Bill Stevenson at the at the oh my God, the Blasting Room in Fort
Uh-huh.
Collins. I've
Oh.
talked to him on the. Do you know who Bill Stevenson is?
No.
Okay, he's the drummer of the Descendants.
Oh yeah, my brother's a big Descendants fan and he's a drummer, so he'll probably get mad at me for not knowing that.
He's the producer of Rise Against.
Oh, I
Uh,
love Rise Against.
he's done records for Alkaline
Oh,
Trio.
yeah.
He's done Less Than Jake records.
Oh yeah.
He's done these really fucking great records,
I love
and
Alkaline
he's a
Trio, yeah.
great drummer. Me too.
Hmm.
And like he's a great drummer, and like Trey's a great drummer. So like I would love to make this record with him. I just don't know how to get the money. So
Hmm.
if I could find the money, then I got some really good songs, and then I'd like to record them, and then I'd put them out. And if like somebody wanted me to play a show, then I'd say yes.
That is so awesome. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
manifesting for that. That's so cool. And what's what I love about this is that I kind of can relate to this is because it sounds like you didn't get into country until you were a bit older. Like you grew up on that pop punk, and then you grew up in Texas, right? And
Mhm.
so how was it like? Because I had a similar experience. Like I grew up in Florida, but country music was still pretty big. And I was like, at first, I was like those kind of people, like, I don't like country because all I thought was like the mainstream radio. And then I found, I know, keep going back from what I found American Aquarium. And then I found Jason Isbell. Then I found, Turnpike Troubadours and Tyler Childers. And I was like, oh my God, this is good. Like, this is great music that just like speaks to the human condition. Like, I'm obsessed with this. And so, and that's how I found y'all. That's how I found Lucero. And did you like kind of how was your experience into that? Because, country, I feel like a lot of people might think that it's just like this mainstream thing, like the Nashville crowd. And once you dive in to the other artists, you're like, oh my God, like this is just the human, like you said, it's folk music. It's just like these are all of the people that I mentioned. They all sing about things that you can relate to, and they have like fiddle and steel guitar.
Well, I love Flogging Molly. I've loved
Hmm.
Flogging Molly forever. My dad and I went and saw them when I was like, 13 or 14. It's just one of my first concerts
Yeah, I
too.
love Flogging
I'm
Molly too.
like,
Yeah.
I just love Flogging Molly. That's like one of my favorite bands of all time. Probably my favorite band of all time.
Oh,
And they
wow.
have acoustic guitar, they have accordion, they have mandolin, they got drums, they got electric guitar, they got bass, they got tin whistle, they got the fiddle.
Hmm.
Like, that's country music. So when I got into country music, that love of folk music, I was already there. I already
Hmm.
loved Johnny Cash. I loved
Yeah.
Willie Nelson.
Hmm.
Like there was a nostalgia to it of like this is the music that my parents like,
Hmm.
that I grew up with, that I've heard. And this is also sounds that are everywhere in Texas. Like you
Hmm.
don't get away from it. Like if I go in right now to a CVS market, it's either going to be a country song or an 80s song. There's no in between.
That's how it is here too. Yeah.
That's just what it is. So I'm like, I like country music to an extent, but I've never connected with it because no one's ever written a song that speaks to my life.
Hmm.
But we can both agree that country music is also adult music. It deals with
Hmm.
adult situations like
Hmm.
love, loss of love, cheating, drinking, smoking,
Hmm.
gambling, two-time having, like
Hmm.
all of the things that kids, might daydream about, but don't
Hmm.
really understand. And so,
Hmm.
like, pop country doesn't deal with that, doesn't deal
Hmm.
with the life side of it, just like I'm gonna name a couple of brands and do it in a rhyme so someone gets the thing that I'm trying to sell. And, to people like you and I, it's
Hmm.
like, I'll go to pop and rock and punk, and I'll get my life music from there as a kid because that's
Hmm.
talking about stuff that I actually care about.
Hmm.
I don't drink beer.
Yeah. I don't care about pickup trucks. Like
I'm
I don't
12. I
yeah.
have a bike,
Yeah. I don't
or a
have my license.
skateboard. I have
Yeah.
nothing. I am so broke.
Yeah.
I am not cool. I am not tough. I am kind of a loser in
Hmm.
a rural country town, and I don't fit in, and I need something that makes me feel like that. But that same sentiment is tied into the music that you're talking about, which is like,
Hmm.
I am one person in a sea of other people that I don't connect to. And I feel like I'm a person lost in my own time. And I feel like Tyler Childers hits that. I feel
Hmm.
like Turnpike Troubadours hits that. I feel
Hmm.
like Lucero hits that. The
Hmm.
Barfly, the Wallflower, the
Yeah.
just the person in the corner that like isn't does not fit in, but
Hmm.
still exists in these situations and in these settings and have their own stories. And Old 97s in
Hmm.
Dallas is that. Like,
Yeah, I love
are they a rock band? Are they an indie
hmm.
band? Are they a country band? I don't know. They're the Old 97s. I love them.
Hmm.
And Fuss, when we first released our first EP, got referenced to Old 97s, and that was my introduction. And
Hmm.
at that point in time, they were on a major label. And, Too Far to Care was probably the record for me where I was just like, oh, this is
Hmm.
everything I like. It's got the grit and the underground punky edge to it. It's got these super vulnerable, sincere, well read lyrics that are deeper than just a beer song, but it's still
Hmm.
fun. And it's
Yeah.
still like lively and there's energy. And like, I do love old country music, but it is slow.
Oh, yeah, slow. It's like
And
a different vibe. Like I feel
I don't
like
know,
yeah.
there's a time and a place for everything. But I got a fast heart rate. I'm a
Me
mover and a
too.
shaker. I gotta go. I'm kind of like, I need a high tempo.
Uh-huh.
And I found that in Old 97s. I found that in Turnpike. I found that in Bottle Rockets. And I found that in like early Wilco and
Love
Sunvolt and
Wilco, yeah.
Slobberbone. And like, oh
Hmm.
my God, there's an entire scene of people that like get it. And
Yeah.
I'm not from California. So I
Yeah.
can't, I mean, like, I can write a pop punk record, but like that's not the sound of my area. That's not the regional sound that really I can touch and pull inspiration from if I just walk
Hmm.
outside.
Yeah.
That's where I was as a writer then. Now I can write one hell of a pop punk song. But like,
Yes.
it's really I really wanted to like take the stories that I had of being in a punk band and being an adult and going through heartache and falling in love and
Hmm.
all these things, but like I couldn't put them in a riffy hard rock song.
Hmm.
So I had to like pick up an acoustic and not an electric. I had to play chords and not riffs and like slow down a little bit, until I wrote the fast ones, but like kind of
Hmm.
slow down and like tell a story and figure out how I really feel. And I am just, it's all kind of just happened and piled on like that. But like, I don't know. Like once you kind of find it, I think there's a type of country music for everybody. Like
Yeah.
it's not just white people. It's not
Hmm.
It's not just rich people. It is not just conservative people. There's all kinds of country music, and
Yeah.
it is for everybody. And
Hmm.
now there's one more trans country artist. That's
Yeah.
me.
That's so awesome. I love it. And and I've talked about this before. I think I've talked about this with Josh Kretschmer when I had him on. Is I feel like also with that, like with our everybody that you mentioned and like I mentioned too, I feel like there's just a web. Like once you get into this music, like once you find old 97s and you'll find, Lucero, Slumberbone, like it just keeps on going. And then like I think what's even cooler about this scene, it's like the bands that open up for them, and then you find them, and then everybody's friends, or everybody's played similar touring circuits, or everybody's been on the same festival, and it's like, I feel like Cross Canadian Ragweed's another good example of like,
Ugh,
Turnpike and that, and like the way that they build their sound too. I mean, they kind of sound like they're very radio friendly, but they also, like 17 and Alabama, like kind of the rock and the personal. And I think it's so cool that, it's just an endless supply of music once you get into that, and other niches too. I mean, you can go from like all of that stuff we mentioned to like Waxahachie or Wilco or even like Alabama Shakes, or even
absolutely.
to the punk side, like Drive-By Truckers. But then like Drive-By Truckers, like Bobby Matt, he does stuff with Laura Jane Grace, and so I think it's a cool way that and a lot of people that I feel like are into this specific world, they have like a wider appreciation for music in general too. And I think that's cool. And I feel like all of those bands, they all have their own different flavor. They don't all sound the same.
No, and how like cool is it when you're like you're not young, you're not
Hmm.
old, and you're a millennial that remembers life before the internet and then
Hmm.
also understands that there's a massive world out there now
Hmm.
that's intangible,
Hmm.
with the internet. And then you stumble on this like gritty, weird, country-ish music. Like we just had
Hmm.
Slumberbone open for us at
How
Green
cool
Hole.
is that? I saw them with Lucero back in December, and it was awesome. They put on a great show.
Yeah, I popped up and sang "Give Me Back My Dog," and
That's
it was so
great.
fun. Yeah, bucket list moment for a little alt country Jenny. Um, and it was really fun. Like I love this scene. I'm honored to be a part of it. I'm grateful that we've had even just a little stamp in it,
Hmm.
and it's been really cool to find my place in music.
That's awesome. I feel like we covered a lot of great stuff, but is there anything else like that you want to talk about before we wrap up? You're on tour currently, and are you on tour for about the rest of until the fall, right? And the new album came out.
So I'm on tour forever.
Yeah.
Um,
That's why I
or
feel
until
like
the
y'all are always on tour, but I didn't know like this current run of dates if
so
there's
we're
like
yeah, I'm at home right now.
uh-huh.
I got home last week from Santa Fe, which was the last date of our West Coast run. I played Green Hall on Saturday, and then I
Hmm.
leave for St. Louis. We played St. Louis on Friday. So we'll leave Thursday, and that'll start the next leg of the tour, which will take us through some of the Midwest and the East Coast. And that'll finish up in September, and then we'll do another couple of, jaunts or runs
Hmm.
until we go to Europe. And then we're gonna go out with Skinny Lister and do a which you should listen to. You'd love them.
Yeah.
They we're gonna do all of mainland Europe and the UK with them,
That's so
and
exciting.
that'll finish out the year, and that'll take us all the way to December.
Wow, yeah, I want to catch y'all. I haven't seen y'all live, which is crazy because I've like been so close to it, but I haven't been the chance yet. I'm getting my PhD in Alabama, so I'll be in Tuscaloosa. But whenever y'all are in like kind of a surrounding area, whether it's Birmingham or whatever, I would love to catch a
Yeah,
show.
I would love to play Lower South more. We always like,
Hmm.
and Florida will just like stab us for not coming in. But usually, so we're playing like the Outlaw Country Cruise next year,
Oh, that's
with
cool.
like Margot Price and Nitty Gritty Dirt Band, Steve
Uh,
Earle, and all that. And I love it. I think the plan is right now to kind of go through the Lower South, get to the boat, and then
yes.
take the boat around, and then probably do another East Run or something like that. Um, so I'd love to see you. You're always welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you. This has been so much fun talking to you. I had
Yeah,
a
thank
great
you.
time. Well, I hope you have a great day, Jenny. It was an
Thank
absolute
you.
pleasure to talk to you. And
Thank
I
you
hope
so
to
much,
see you
Bella.
out on the road soon. Yeah,